welcome back to Mystic Challenge. And just before we meet our next mystery guest, let me tell you that our second pair of Mystic Masters are tarot card reader Chris Forster and astrologer Ingrid Hooper. Now, at the moment, they can't hear anything, and as the doors shut on our Mystic booth, they can't see anything either. So it's now safe to say hello to journalist and broadcaster Nina Myskow. Nina, lovely to see you again.
Lovely to be here.
Take a seat. Pretty in pink as ever. Now, as you know, we need to build up a quick kind of snapshot of your whole life. So let's start with your childhood. Where did you grow up?
In South Africa. My mother was Scottish, Dad was Polish, and they emigrated to South Africa when I was 18 months old, so I was brought up there till I was 15. And
you were happy there? A happy childhood?
I had really a very happy childhood until I was 8. I was sent away to boarding school, which I absolutely hated. And then when I was 12, my father died, and that actually, at the time, seemed like the end of my life for me. And then 3 years later, South Africa became a republic, and my mother brought my brother, who was much younger than me, and me back to live in Scotland with my grandfather.
And was that a difficult switch to make, to go from South Africa to Scotland?
I thought I had died and gone to some kind of cold hell. I really felt everything was grey and cold and narrow, buildings, weather, people, and coming from a big sunshiny background, it was very hard for me somehow. I think for a few years I just pretended I wasn't there.
Well, I suppose having lost your father so young, you were very close to your mother?
My mother was a big influence on my life, yes, absolutely, and she's a very dominant personality. She was an ex-Scottish school teacher, science teacher.
Oh, boy.
Oh, I always say, right, always say.
And were you always interested in journalism and in writing?
Yes, I think when I was sort of in my mid-teens, I suddenly thought, I'd always been fascinated by other people, and I always loved to read biographies, and so it was people, really. And I suddenly thought that the clue to this was through journalism. And so when I failed, I had 1 year at St Andrews University, which I failed drastically.
I bet Mum was pleased.
Yes, and it was her university she'd gone to. But I think I was so terrified of failing. I'd been academically very, very lucky until I'd hit Scotland, and I'd never had to work, and I just sort of sailed through everything. And then I found that it wasn't quite so easy. And I think I was so terrified of not succeeding that I didn't try at all. And so journalism was a kind of saving grace for me.
And you went into what, women's magazines first?
I went into Jackie magazine, a big private publishing firm called DC Thompson's, the largest private publishers in Europe, and they were literally 15 miles from where I lived. And so I sort of went to chat to them, and they said, when do you want to start? And I said, well, I hadn't actually applied, but I'll start on Monday.
And of course, you ended up editing Jackie, then went to the Sun as a music journal, and then, of course, memorably, the News of the World's television critic.
I was a TV critic, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about relationships. How old were you when you had your first serious relationship?
When I suppose my first serious relationship was at university. Although there had, you know, a local guy when I was at school, as it were, when I was sort of 16. But that relationship at university ended when my university career ended, and I was very heartbroken by it, and I think that affected me for lots and lots of years, and I kind of threw myself into my work, really, which sounds terribly sad, but wasn't. I just sort of ignored relationships, and rather than put myself in a position where I could be hurt, I just sort of sailed on regardless.
Now, of course, I know your other half very well, Grant. You've been with him for quite a while now, haven't you? 10
years. We celebrated our 10th anniversary of the first night we spent together on June 29th.
And have you had, in the past, relationships you've regretted? I mean, long-term relationships?
No, because I haven't really had many long-term relationships. There was one long-term relationship I had, which started from the beginning of the 70s and lasted for about a decade, with a man I felt was very much in love with. But because I was living in Scotland and he was living in London until I moved to London in the late 70s, I didn't realise till I moved to London that he really was gay. And that was another great sort of source of sadness to me, and it took me many years to extricate myself from that and to try and turn that around emotionally. And I did go through quite a few years of therapy, not just because of that, but I think that was part of it.
And how about your physical health as the clock is ticking? How are you at the moment?
Oh,
well?
Absolutely robust and everything. My only big problem was that I was very overweight until about 12 years ago, when I finally got a grip to myself, and I thought, at the age of 40 or whatever, life is not a dress rehearsal. I'm not coming back taller, thinner, in a better frock to play this scene again. So I discovered exercise, and I lost 3 stone, which I've kept off, but mostly through exercise. So I'm pretty fit.
Well, I'm going to give you a bit of exercise now. We're going to have to hustle you behind that screen.
Ooh,
now, for the moment, thank you, Nina Myskow. Off we go, Nina. Thank you. Because it's now time for our Mystic Masters to take up their challenge. Let's see who's going to get most of Nina's life story right. First up is tarot card reader Chris Forster. Now, the only information Chris has to work with is a set of tarot cards chosen by our mystery guest. He hasn't spoken to the guest. Please welcome Chris Forster. Chris, good to see you. Still take a seat. Now, you've only had your tarot cards to go on. You're going to have 90 seconds to give us as much information as you can. Which areas do you want to focus on?
OK, I'd like to look at childhood, health and money.
Childhood, health and money. Your 90 seconds starts now.
I feel this lady had two conflicting father figures, perhaps due to a divorced stepfather scenario. So a strong maternal influence now draws feminine influences towards her. There are always strong female characters around. The maternal figure is in a position of peace now. This lady's obsessed with love and relationship. She likes to have people around her fun and in touch with nature, even naturists. But she has a stern streak and can seem a split personality. Strong upper arms, if inclined to sport, may favour swimming. But chest pains caused by stress should be watched lest they lead to heart problems. Feet problems indicated could include verrucas. From headaches to vertigo, head problems result from excessive energies expended on emotional problems. Currently not sexually interested. Swollen knee joints should be watched. Family connections abroad with money, possibly Italy, may lead to an inheritance. And a new resident should be looked at. In a time of financial stress due to split-ups and major career changes, health is also impacted. Legal issues loom in business and romantic partnerships, especially if Sagittarians are involved. New career and financial opportunities should be looked at. Look abroad. The Middle East and even the Soviet Union borders are suggested.
That's your time, is it? Quick as you like. Well done to Chris, ladies and gentlemen. Next, we are joined by Chris's opponent, astrologer Ingrid Hooper. Now, earlier today, Ingrid received the date and place of birth of our mystery guest. She's neither met nor spoken to that guest. So please welcome Ingrid Hooper. Ingrid, lovely to see you. Take a seat. OK, well, like our Chris, you're going to have 90 seconds to give us as much information as you can about the mystery celebrity guest. Which areas do you want to focus on?
Career, relationships and health.
Career, relationships and health. Your 90 seconds, Ingrid, starts now.
Career, she's quite a glamorous lady. She's famous, she's in the public eye. She writes, she'll have done TV work, and I think she could act as well. First impression, people may find her a little overbearing. I think she comes on quite strong. She's very creative. Could be singing in the music business. She's strong-minded, very determined, small in height, and like Mrs. Thatcher, this lady has got a lot of charisma. She travels a lot, and I think she's got Jeremy Paxman's style of interviewing. Now, relationships, she hasn't got any children, I don't think, so I don't think she's got the time, but she has a very exciting love life, has had on-off sparky relationships in the past, loves racy, exciting men, she's lucky in love, and has had whirlwind romances in the past. All or nothing, champagne or ginger beer type. Goes to exciting men, definitely needs excitement, crazy excitement. Would like to go to Paris for the weekend, be whisked off, that sort of thing. Foreign connections figure in her love life. Health, she overdoes it with food and partying. She's got a tendency to burn the candle at both ends, really enjoys the good life. She suffers some allergies, and she may be feeling a bit tired and run down at the moment. She's very susceptible, perhaps, to having one drink too many at a party.
Well, aren't we all? Any more, Ingrid?
I think she's actually a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. Thank you very much and well done, Ingrid Hooper. Well, it's the moment of truth. And it's time to find out how right our mystics were about their mystery guest. I'm dying to clear up some of these questions. Please welcome journalist and broadcaster Nina Myskow. Nina, good to see you again. This is Chris and Ingrid.
Hello.
Right.
You're wearing my colour.
No, there's all kinds of things we're going to have to go through. Let's start, though, with one thing that came from both of them. Very different approaches of the personality. Chris suggested that you had a stern streak, and Ingrid mentioned, I suppose, along the same lines, maybe you can be sometimes maybe a bit overbearing, a bit too powerful at first meetings. Is that striking your chord? Or?
Well, it does, I think, because, I mean, I have had a reputation as quite a tough critic, and I do have the ability to spot people's weaknesses and can exploit that, and have exploited that in the past. I'm very quick at that, and hopefully I've learnt to control that a bit in later life.
And Chris picked up on two father figures. We heard about your father and then your grandfather. So
yes, my father died when I was 12, and so then when we moved back to Scotland, there was my grandfather, who unfortunately only lived for 18 months. So yes, there was that.
Have you ever had a verruca or had one recently?
Do you know, I had a verruca for a year, until a year ago, and it drove me absolutely nuts. I picked it up on a shower in South Africa, apparently. And
how did you get your feet up? Oh, I see, off the right. OK, sorry.
No, and I had a terrible time getting rid of it, and it was an absolute... And I'm no good when I'm not well. I'm usually so robust that when something's wrong with me, I really am very whingy.
OK, but I also caught to Chris, you're keen on naturism, but not sexually interested at the moment.
Well, I think Grant would find that very, very interesting. Not naturism. I mean, Grant does walk around the flat stark naked from time to time, but I don't know if that's naturist.
OK, moving swiftly over to Ingrid, and a number of things Ingrid seemed to get spot on. Glamorous, well-known, right?
It's very nice to say glamorous. Thank
Done
you.
television, because of course you're a well-known TV broadcaster as well. Travelled a lot, because you've had lots of travel journalism.
I live to travel.
And you're small, charismatic, like Mrs Thatcher.
Well, I'll take everything of that, but I won't have the Mrs Thatcher, thank you. I'd have anything rather than Thatcher.
Ingrid, you also picked up on the music business side of things. You said possibly a singer, but you were a music journo, weren't you?
I was a music journalist, but bizarrely, on television, I've just appeared on another programme with 5 of us with the Spice Girls, and I was Posh Spice, and I have never sung in public sober in my life before, and it was terrifying. So maybe you were getting vibes from that.
OK, the sober thing, do you occasionally have one sniff too many of the barmaid's apron?
Oh, I always say that you know, if somebody offers me champagne, I keep drinking it until either the bubbles go flat or I do. I have no stop button. I have never learned to say, I'm sorry, I already have one, I'll have another glass, or thank you, I've had enough.
OK, and just finally and very quickly, your romantic attachment has got foreign connections. Is that true about Grant?
He's Australian.
OK.
Yeah.
An awful lot to go on there, but thank you for the moment, Ingrid and Chris. So it's decision time for Ian and the jury. Ian.
Well, my vote went to Chris, just for the verruca, but everyone else went for Ingrid. Because she just got Nina completely spot on. It might be something to do with the pink cardigan, I don't know, but Ingrid won it 12-1.
Very simpatico. So congratulations on the verruca, but the winner for this part of the show, it's our Ingrid, ladies and gentlemen. Well done. I know you've got to be objective, but you have gone along with that, because although Chris hit a couple of things on the nail, Ingrid was very accurate.
I think so. I think Ingrid, you were more spot on with the actual essence of me, if you like. I think that getting the sort of the stern streak out of it and all of that. I mean, Mrs Thatcher I still deny, but...
also, Ingrid mentioned we didn't have time before that you have no children, which you said. Yeah. Although Chris mentioned strong upper arms, and you do a bit of exercise, don't you? I do exercise. Mind you, I've always had massive shoulders, so when shoulder pads came in, I was really thrilled, you know. Thanks to Nina, to Chris, to Ingrid. Thanks to you for watching. Bye for now.